You are not allowed to enter the fenced-off farmer's field. Block 6 sits quietly in the field, usually surrounded by a variety of farm animals. You are presently standing on the southwest corner of the fort. Eben Emael was a diamond-shaped fort measuring 1,200 yards north to south and 800 yards at its widest point. Block 6's only purpose was to provide protection for the artillery pieces found at the top of the hill from ground assault. Planners had assumed that these artillery guns would dominate the battlefield as it had in World War I. Some of the guns on top of the hill faced either south to the Vies Gap, which has always been a favorite route for invading armies, or north towards the road and bridge network at Maastricht and the Albert Canal. Several other rotating guns allowed the fort to cover positions in the east and west. And here is Block 6, one of several blocks that protected the exterior of the fort. Fort Eben Emael was designed to exploit the natural defensive qualities of the hill between Liège in Belgium and Maastricht in Holland. Two waterways in the area, the River Meuse and the construction of the Albert Canal, further strengthened the defensive location of the fort. We will see these waterways later in our tour. The broad plateau of St. Peter's Hill overlooked the villages of Eben and Emael and has unobstructed views across the southernmost part of Holland and into Germany. A force operating from St. Peter's Hill was able to observe movement for miles around. Following the decision to build a state-of-the-art fortress on this naturally strong position, design work and construction began in 1932, with money being lavished on the project. Building the fort cost over $50 million, a very expensive proposition at the time, and it took 3 years. However, the engineering challenges were such that, controversially, 2 German contractors worked on external parts of the fortress. Many subsequently argued that deterrence was a part of Eben Emael's very reason for existence. It was important that the Germans knew how immensely strong the defenses were, and it was assumed that they would be duly deterred from taking a route through Maastricht or the southern Vies Gap. Eben Emael was built to deter an aggressor from the east from contemplating breaching Belgian neutrality. Look down the solid wall away from Block 1 and you will see Block 6. And you will see the anti-tank wall that extended from Block 1 up past Block 6, and we will see it later in our walk as we access emplacements further up the hill. The anti-tank wall and further on the anti-tank ditch was an important defensive barrier. Block 6, as well as 4 other emplacements that ring the outer perimeter of the fort, were built along the anti-tank defenses. All the outside emplacements, such as Block 6, had access through a series of tunnels located in the inside of the fort. Like other defensive casements located around the perimeter of the fort, it was built to keep enemy forces from breaching the inside of the fort and capturing the artillery bunkers located on top of the hill. Block 6 was manned by 3 non-commissioned officers and 17 soldiers. They were necessary to either man or support the defensive armaments. They included 2 60mm anti-tank guns, 2 machine guns, and a searchlight. An observation dome on top of the emplacement allowed troops in the block to observe the enemy. The domed armor was 20 meters thick and had 4 observation slits. The dome was designed to withstand artillery bursts of up to 22-centimeter caliber guns. All of the armaments fired towards Block 1. During the battle, this particular block was not assaulted. For the most part, the perimeter emplacements were not assaulted by the paratroopers except to knock out the observation domes located at the top of some of the emplacements. Without the observation domes, the block casement's defensive abilities were critically reduced. This finishes stop number 2. Proceed back to Block 1, which was the main entrance to the fort. You can begin to listen to stop 3 as you walk back to Block 1, the main entrance, or wait until you are in front of the entrance gate to begin stop number 3.